Hey there, it's Ted again. I'm in my backyard. It's a beautiful day in the spring here. I've got a project here. I've got some Johnson lower units. They've been in my workshop for, I don't know, 10 or 15 years. And I need to identify them. I forgot what they are. I've moved them around so many times. So we're going to go through the identification of them and then figure out the gear ratio so you can figure out if you're trying to pick one up, a used one, and it's in good shape, what it is that you're looking for, what you have, or what you're trying to identify just by some information that I can put together for you. We're going to go over first the identification of the lower units that I have in their physical and in front of me. So I'll show you how to do that. And then we're going to go over gear ratio. So here we go. So a couple of things that are important is, you know, this area here has either holes in it or it has an insert. That's one of the things. These are V4 lower units or V6 lower units. So there are numbers sometimes that you're going to see. So I'm zooming in here and you can see that number is 185895 right there. And the last really major thing is we're going to look at is the length of that shaft to determine, is it a long or is it a short? What is it? Okay, so we've squared up the lower unit. What I've done is I've got a rafter square here, a little wedge. I've got another rafter square down here on this table. Doesn't have to be perfect. What I'm trying to do is just get this overall dimension of the gear case here. So that is about 19 inches. Now what I want to do is I want to measure the bullet. So the bullet diameter is this diameter. Okay, so the next diameter is this bullet diameter, and I measured this earlier, and this is about, for this lower unit, is about 4 3/16, 4 1/4, somewhere in there. Shaft height is another one. We want to know the shaft height. So the shaft height of this is about 26. The other thing is it has 4 holes in the lower, okay, and it has an anode here, and it has 2 slots. The next thing we want to do is we kind of want to go over gear ratio. So let's figure out how we do gear ratio. So one way to do gear ratio is, what we can do is we can simply put some tape on the prop shaft, put some tape here, and then what we're going to do is rotate this shaft. I got to shift it into gear. What I'm going to do is I've got this straight up and down with both, and I'm going to rotate this 20 times. So I'm going to take my 21 millimeter socket, 12 point, fits this perfectly for this application. And then what I'm going to do is all gear cases rotate, or all power heads rotate standard right hand. So clockwise rotation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count on my upper, and I'm going to simply start ticking off on the lower until I get 20 on the top. So I got my 21 millimeter socket. And here we go. You ready? So we're going to just tick off how many we got. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. All right? And that's about 3/4 of a turn. So that I'm going to call that 0.75. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10.75 rotations to 20 rotations of the drive shaft. So I'll do my math, I'll divide these two, and hopefully that gives me the gear ratio. Okay, so we've done the math. So here we go. We've got the drive shaft, I rotated that 20 times, and I rotated the prop shaft 10.75 times. So 10 3/4 rotations. I divided 20 by 10.75. I get a gear ratio of 1.86 to 1. That is a V6 gear case. I know that because a V4 is 1.5. So now we know what it is. We know what gear case this is. We know what the gear ratio is, and we can identify it so that if somebody's looking for a V6, 1.86, that's the drive, the gear ratio, and that's the lower on the unit that we have here. Okay, so I won't forget next time what I'm going to do. Put a little tape on here. I'm going to label it this time and see if somebody needs one of these. So this is a V4, V6, and it is a V6 ratio of 1.86 to 1. So now I know what it is, and I can go ahead and try to see if somebody needs one. Okay, lower unit number 2, a little different. It has an insert here, and the shaft height is, this is a 25-inch shaft. It has the same 2 slots here as your anode here. There is some subtle changes, so that's going to determine what year it is and also what configuration. We need to measure the bullet again, and we need to measure the height of the unit. The biggest thing I'm trying to figure out here is the model years in that range that this falls into. So let's go ahead and do that. So about 19, I'd say. Not perfect, but it'll get me close. We can get a rough idea what that's going to be. Yeah, I'd say it's about 4 3/4 is the bullet diameter. Okay, so we're going to call that 4 3/4. Alright, I got lower unit number 2, different because I have slotted an insert for the water pickup here. I've already started the measurements, and now what I need to do is I need to rotate this shaft and mark it. Now the previous drive that just has 4 holes here takes a 21mm socket, 12-point, fits it perfect. Rotate it, 22, 21 doesn't fit the shaft, so it's a different drive shaft, it's a different power head spline. It's still a V4, V6 lower unit, but a different year, so there's a different crankshaft altogether. Alright, I got my marks here. I don't have a spline socket, so I'm going to end up driving the prop shaft, and I have to make that go clockwise, so I'm going to count this while observing that. Okay, so here we go. So 1, that's 1 on this. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, that's about 3/4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 3/4. And that's the same gear ratio as the other drive. So again, this is another V6, a different year. It still has that 1.86 to 1 ratio, and it is a V6. Okay, so we've identified the two drives, showed you how to do gear ratio. Pretty straightforward. If you like the video, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.